England was a commercial empire, the most important in the world, and the fact that the Spanish were kicked out allowed them to penetrate and establish dominance there, right? So the British are really, oh my God, I really care for those poor Latin Americans. And by the way, the rebels were all colonialists and not the oppressed Indians. They were
really,
of course, they were mixed, of course, because people have sex with different ethnic groups, but that the people who rebelled in the name of the Americas were mostly descendants of the European colonialists. Okay. But never mind.
Okay, well, we're going to jump right on into it. So just to reintroduce myself, I'm Heddy Ben-Atar, and
I'm Doron Ben-Atar.
And this is our podcast, Life, History, and Everyday Bullshtick. And we should be coming out with a website soon, but if you want to send us an email before we do, you can email us at info@bullshtick.com. That's info@bullshtick.com. Okay. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any requests for life advice that you'd like us to discuss on our podcast and give you some advice, we can do it there. And also, if you have any ideas about how we could do this podcast better, we'd just love to hear from you. Okay. Now we're going to hop into the topic of the day. And the thing that I'm really interested in talking about today is, as we're kind of transitioning from the Biden presidency to the Trump presidency, I feel like one of the major discussion points that the people of America are having is around like the different approaches around American intervention versus American isolationism. Intervention being like very involved in international affairs, whether that is like funding, weapons to Ukraine or where they can use those weapons, or brokering like ceasefires between Israel and Hezbollah or what have you. Like isolationism being something like, we're not going to be involved in Ukraine. We're not going to be involved as much internationally. And so I wanted to get like a historical perspective on those topics and what comes to mind for you when you think about that.
So the first thing is that interventionism is more than just the things you said. Interventionism very often involved, boots on the ground. So America sends boots, to liberate Kuwait or to invade Grenada or whatever, whatever really we want to think about, or Iraq or stuff. So that's interventionism. What Trump represents a sentiment that has always existed in the United States, sentiment of isolationism, which meant that Americans did not want to go and fight in faraway land for causes that are not relevant to their daily lives, that are kind of, geostrategic or something like that. And from that perspective, it's a very legitimate point of view. It runs across the reality that the United States cannot really live alone, and that isolationism is always practiced selectively. You decide to be isolationist here and not there. I mean, in the context of Trump, it always has to do with Europe. It's all, are we Eurocentric or not Eurocentric? Nobody ever says that we should stay away from Asia or Latin America. Those are considered to be completely legitimate, zones of influences. So isolationism is a slogan that has this kind of simplistic purity to it, but it really it's not practical. I mean, even if you think about it, I'm a historian, right? So the first two sources of isolationist thinking in America are George Washington's farewell address. It's a letter that Washington sent to the people as he resigned from office left office, didn't seek re-election in 1796, and the Monroe Doctrine of 1823. Both of them, Washington says that we, in this famous farewell address, don't get involved in entangling alliances. Well, that's really beautiful. Except the whole point of saying it was actually to get involved in an entangling alliance, to be on the side of England that was fighting France in the War of the French Revolution, and not to allow the pro-French sentiment of the Jeffersonian opposition to send the United States into this French crusade to spread freedom in the world. Then you have the Monroe Doctrine, 1823. That's the one.
I don't remember anything about the Monroe Doctrine.
Monroe
I know the Washington part because I've been listening to a lot of Hamilton where it comes up, but I just don't remember. Tell me what the Monroe Doctrine is.
The Monroe Doctrine is this. Famously, there is a commitment that European countries make in the Congress of Vienna, 1815, after the end of the Wars of the French Revolution, Napoleon, that they're going to collectively protect the world from republicanism or democracy because of what happened with the French. I mean, how bloody it was.
Okay.
And so they established all sorts of alliances. Then you have the rebellion in Latin America against the Spanish colonialists. And the question is,
when was that? Do you remember?
Well, the revolution in South America, I don't remember when it starts, but it goes on for quite some time. There's because it's all over and in different places with different generals, different armies. But in 1823, there is a talk of a European expedition to suppress the revolt of the people of Latin America against the Spanish Empire because it's in the name of monarchy and stuff like that. And the English, who don't want to have this European intervention because they were never really into the collective reactionary Holy Alliance. The English come to the United States. Castlereagh says to John Quincy Adams, Secretary of State, and says, hey, how about we both make a statement saying that we oppose foreign intervention in Latin America? Now, it's not that the English were really on the side of Latin Americans. It's not because of what happened is England was a commercial empire, the most important in the world. And the fact that the Spanish were kicked out allowed them to penetrate and establish dominance there, right? So the British are really, oh my God, I really care for those poor Latin Americans. And by the way, the rebels were all colonialists and not the oppressed Indians. They were
really,
of course, they were mixed, of course, because people have sex with different ethnic groups, but the people who rebelled in the name of the Americas were mostly descendants of the European colonialists. Okay. But never mind.
I didn't know that.
So Castlereagh comes to Adams and says, hey, let's do a deal together. Let's make this announcement. And for the United States, it's a huge coup. Because the United States in that time is like a little rabbit. Nothing. It's a few, a few farmers, whatever. And everybody in the Monroe cabinet wants to accept it, except Adams says, no, we are not going to go with English. We're going to go on our own. And we're going to make this statement on ourselves. And in that statement, which the Monroe Doctrine, it's 3 paragraphs in an annual address. It's not particularly fascinating. But in that statement, the United States more or less says, we're going to stay out of your affairs in Europe, and you're going to stay out of our affairs in the Americas. Again, this is an isolationist statement, but it's really completely internationalist in approach. Not only that, it's full of shit. Because the Europeans are not scared of American intervention in Europe.
That's not.
I mean, the Americans, what they're going to do, take a mule. I mean, it's the United States is some rinky-dinky third world developing country in 1823. I mean, nobody remembers it exists. And then you have, and the Europeans are not scared of American stopping them from intervening. What they are scared of and what is going to prevent them from intervening in Latin America is the British Navy. So basically, the United States claims credit for the protection of the British Navy, the same British Navy against whom it went to war over whatever meaningless issues. 10 years earlier, 10 years, 10 years earlier, or 11 years earlier.
Okay.
I mean, it's so that's isolationism. So when does isolation becomes really a policy? It becomes a policy after World War One, when World War One was very unpopular. Woodrow Wilson, who took the United States to war in 1917, actually campaigned in an anti-war message, and then the politician thing, changed direction. And World War One also it was unpopular everywhere. And there's a question, that historians debate today. Why did we even fight World War One? I mean, World War One. What was exactly World War One about? It's not. There's no Hitler or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very unpopular, and American boys died again on foreign soil for a cause that didn't mean anything to them. And there was a rejection of Wilson's kind of grand ideas to change the world. And in order to make sure the United States does not get involved again in such a foreign adventure, they started to pass neutrality laws that prevented the United States from really, really intervening. Supposedly in the future, there is an anti-Semitic dimension to it, because World War One came to be blamed on speculators and bankers and other synonyms for Jews, and the anti-war sentiment and the hearings in Congress about the merchants of death who sacrificed our boys for their profit coincided with the hearing in Congress about the 1924 immigration laws that were very anti-Semitic in the sense of the American stopped immigration because Jews are cosmopolitans and are patriotic, and you cannot be trusted, and so forth. So that's part of this atmosphere that creates this isolationism.
Obviously, then we do go and join World War II, so
Right.
that we take a break from that like interwar isolationism. And then there is the Cold War, I guess, which is its own version of not interventionism.
Completely, yeah.
Intervening across the world. And so, like, is that the moment we've been in? And like, is there a possibility that we are actually swinging towards isolationism? Or is even the language of isolationism that the certain members of like Trump's following use not even actually particularly isolationist?
I don't know if what exactly will happen with Trump, obviously.
Yeah.
But I fail to see a coherent vision. But that's I hope I will be wrong. But one thing that is correct from the Trump perspective is that we are the policemen of the world. Not of all the world, but much of the world. We don't like it. It costs us a lot of money, and it doesn't earn us any gratitude. On the contrary, everywhere, everything we do is always wrong.
Yeah.
The Houthis are bombing ships in the entrance to the Persian Gulf. Who's going to take care of it? The United States. Why the United States? I mean, why not China that needs it, or Egypt? Why the expectation is the United States, and of course, when the United States does it, and it would kill, of course, civilians in the process. Yeah. To be accused of murdering civilians in the third world. I mean, that's the reality of American existence at this particular point, and the world is riding it. Nobody's paying for it.
We're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some life advice.
Dancing in the living room, oh yeah. disco moon.
All right, here is a life advice request for you. And if you all have some life advice that you'd like to hear us talk through about your life, because why would you not want us to talk about your
Absolutely,
life
yes.
on this podcast? You can
Who else would you trust?
you can email us at info@bullshtick.com. That's info@bullshtick.com. You could also just text me if you have my phone number. Okay. This is a question from one of my friends. She says, my close male friend stopped speaking to me when he started dating his now fiance. She is mentally ill, like probably borderline personality mentally ill. She's extremely threatened by me and told him she thinks we had a romantic relationship. We didn't. He has admitted he feels really guilty that he can't find a way to be normal friends with me while dating her. We're both traditional Jews, and I was really pissed he didn't apologize on Yom Kippur. When there was a terrorist attack outside of his apartment in Israel, I asked if he was alive. And he can't apologize? What the fuck? Do I guilt him for his lack of apology or give up on him forever or something else?
You know, so when I think about it, I first of all wonder about the letter writer. What exactly did she, were her expectations? You know, she is in a certain age. I mean, and people form their social groups and social circles and stuff like this. So why is she hung up on this particular guy? So let's say that they had a very special relationship and, you know, something. I have many female friends. You know, I know that they want me, but I'm saving myself to
I'm dying.
the one true love.
Okay, but about our letter writer.
Oh, but of course we are addressing the fucking letter writer. So here's
What do you think?
Here's how it's gonna go. What I think is that that first of all you need to the fact that you're faulting him is correct. That you're not saying, oh, he has got this borderline personality disorder girlfriend and it's her fault. I mean, the fact that you're calling him and he owns it. And the fact that he doesn't want to hurt his relationship with his fiancée is also kind of sweet. I mean, you know, it's in a sense that he loves her enough that he is sacrificing the friendship. But I would say that in a short time, his great love for his fiancée will be over. He'll be like the rest of us, and like the rest of us, he would need a romantic, quote unquote, or romantic / sexual dimension, but he also will appreciate friendship. And so take a time out. This is not a kind of a lifetime decision. If you really like him, and it seems you do, and then, take a step back, find lots of other friends, fall in love, get married, get divorced, get married again, get divorced again, leave the children with your spouse, and then you might become friends again.
Okay. Okay. Do you think he should have apologized?
Yes. But I also think, I don't like the thing. I called him when there was a terrorist attack. And
okay.
I'm not sure, this part of the question bothers me. I'm not exactly sure why. It's kind of naggy.
Huh.
It's kind of, look what I've done for you and you don't do for me. It's the kind of thing you feel, but you don't say.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how much thought this person put into composing this message.
Well, listen, but I'm shocked because I thought, that this,
it was edited heavily. Yes. I think there's like you're calling out like, well, if I do this for you, shouldn't he be?
Yeah.
And they're like, you're really calling out that they're individual items, right? That like,
Right.
yeah, he should have apologized, but really, this is
But
unrelated.
in Yom Kippur, you have to apologize to everybody on some level.
Hmm.
I mean, what is this kind of self-centered, apologize to me? I mean, you have to apologize to, the whole point is to realize that how you managed to wrong so many people over the year. So, should he have apologized? Of course he should have apologized. It's interesting that she's hurting. The kind of, I don't know, of course, how serious she was when she composed it, but this kind of hurt is usually associated with romance, not with kind of, don't you think so? I mean, it's kind of, you have a fight with a friend. Okay, you fight with a friend, it's a friend, 3 months later, you meet for a cup of coffee and you realize how much you hate him. But this kind of, don't you think it's kind of, there's maybe a romantic thing here?
I guess one thing I wonder when I read this is like, whether the writer or my friend feels romance for this person or not. You're kind of saying, well, this woman must feel some romance for this
there
man.
Is something.
I'm
not saying they must. I think that's
or
what I'm feeling. That's what I feel in the expectation, in the disappointment.
Yeah, and the other thing that I read in the question is maybe he really feels some romance toward her. That could be she's not necessarily picking up on. Oh, this is amazing because the lights just went off. It's 10 o'clock. It's time to go to bed.
That's right. No, but you're right. Actually, it could be that he is so guarded because he feels so vulnerable.
Right.
And so that also could be an option here.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've been talking for a while and we should wrap up.
Okay.
The lights is a good cue.
Now is going to be the music,
and now the music will play. Thank you.
Feel the rhythm in our feet. Oh yeah, ooh yeah.
Thank you for listening to Life.
Moving to the retro beat.
If you have thoughts about the podcast, please email at info@bullshtick.com. That's info@bullshtick.com. This podcast was produced and edited by me, Heddy Ben-Atar. Big thank you to Daniel Ben-Atar for your input and advice.
Oh yeah, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. Underneath the disco moon. Oh yeah. Feel the rhythm in our feet. Oh yeah, ooh yeah, ooh yeah. Moving to the retro beat. Oh